beats Battlestar Galactica. That's right, folks. We're back for the third episode in our series on The Office, and I'm back with my co-host, Safe. Welcome back, buddy.
T, it's good to be with you, and I just want you to know, may your hat fly as high as your dreams. We're talking The Office today, Season 3, arguably the greatest season ever, depending on your opinion.
It's got a lot of content.
We have a lot of stuff to cover. Honestly, I don't know how we're going to fit it in, but I know we're going to have fun with it, and that's all that matters.
That's what she said.
So, it's brilliant. So today, we're going to touch on some of the narratives for season 3.
Yeah,
and then just get into some of the fun stuff. I think there's so many shenanigans, so many quotes, so many things. And then let's finish by talking about our favorite episodes and, of course, our favorite cameo for season 3.
We can do that.
All right. So where'd we leave off last at season 2?
Season 2, Jim came on to Pam, and yeah, she turned him down. But we find out at the beginning of season 3 that she did call off the wedding.
She doesn't want to be with Roy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always thought Roy has this thing with Angela, and I really do think they're going to get together later on down the road.
Well, that's just not going to happen.
But yes, so Jim made a move on Pam. He made a couple moves on her and didn't work out. He got rejected, and he said, to hell with it, I'm going to go to Stamford, Connecticut. Stamford, Connecticut. I love that chant. I feel like, I don't know if that's what baseball fans own that chant. Is that the Red Sox? Is that the Yankees? But either way. I don't think
anybody owns that chant.
There's certain fan bases do it better than others. I don't know. But we also see Michael Scott, boss extraordinaire. He has an up and down relationship with his boss, Jan Levinson, formerly Gould, but she recently got divorced, and you'll see Michael start to get it on with his boss after he gets dumped by Carol.
Well, we obviously saw his fling with her before Carol, but it becomes a more serious thing when they end up going down to Sandals, Jamaica.
But yes, and we mentioned that fun fact last podcast on season 2 that Carol Stills is actually Steve Carell's wife in real life. I always find that interesting when a character is making out or kissing another person, even though they're an actor, actress. You know, I've never known how porn stars do it, honestly, when porn stars are married, and yet for their job, they're actually having sex. So stuff I think about, right? But either way, we get 2 new characters. Well, we got a number of characters, but only 2 get to stay. I don't want to jump to too many conclusions, but we get Karen Filippelli, which is Rashida Jones, and then
Andy Bernard.
Andrew Bernard.
Played by Ed
Not
Helms.
a dog.
That's correct. Yeah, they both get transferred over from Stamford when the branches end up merging with one another. They have a whole episode dedicated to that.
Multiple, actually. And we'll talk about one of my favorites towards the end.
Yes,
Martin Nash.
Will. Yes, we
love you.
Yeah, Martin Nash is one of the characters that holds over for one episode, but then ends up leaving the Scranton branch.
And then I think one of the things that's worth mentioning, because Michael accidentally outs Oscar Martinez as gay, and this season aired in 2006 or 2007. Gay marriage was not a thing. So this was kind of a big, at the time, it was still a big thing. And so, again, another reason that Michael should have been fired years ago, but for whatever reason, it's 1974 in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Things have changed, though, obviously, and I think Joe Biden making sure that stuff never happens again.
Well, he's from Scranton.
That's what they say. And I think, did Joe Scranton take the slow train to Philly?
Oh my goodness.
So this season gets off with a bang, and there's a lot of fun stuff, and we're talking Dwight and Angela. That's another. So who took the slow train to Philly is Angela's reference, and her and Dwight are having an
still in the midst of their affair. Well, it's not even an affair. It's just an office relationship that's under wraps, and they want to keep it under the wraps to the point that Dwight ends up quitting.
I would never want to disclose that I'm hooking up with a coworker. That's a big no-no. So I applaud Dwight and Angela's decision.
It's short-lived. He ends up coming back. Michael can't live without him.
No, and I can't say this enough. Dwight is the glue that keeps the office together, and we really see that when he does leave, and he's watering the plants. Obviously, he's the security guard. He's responsible for fire safety training. There's so many things that without him, the office would literally just burn to the ground.
We also see later on that it might quite literally burn to the ground with him there, but...
Now, I don't know about you, but I really get into the labor component of this show. I think it's kind of just this underlying facet that carries over from the British version of The Office with this paper industry. Like, the paper business is going on. Like, but we can't take... Computers are fun for playing games and sending and forwarding funny emails, but real business is done on paper.
Don't forget, you can also make a computer talk like Harvey. Boobs. Oh, that's one of the opening segments. That's probably one of my favorite opening segments from this season.
Go on.
Either that or Michael's video to his son, where he pretty much just does everything wrong and then makes an attempt to take off Pam's bra.
Honestly, taking off a bra tee, not that easy.
What do you mean, not that easy? Very easy.
I don't know what kind of fingers you got, but I've struggled mightily with taking bras off.
I want to share this story, but without the context, it's completely horrible. But I was with basically, I proved to one of my female friends that I could undo a bra through a shirt with just my left hand, and I did. Wow!
And you're right-handed, correct?
Yes. So okay. with my non-dominant hand, with just my non-dominant hand. It's like 3 fingers, just one move. Bam.
I feel like if you don't do it fast enough, it could potentially ruin everything moving forward.
Oh,
and everything could just be stopped. Yes.
If you don't know what you're doing, you can get in a big world of trouble there real quick.
All of a sudden, hey, wait, let's slow down. Let's think about this.
This guy doesn't seem to know how to open up the hood here. I don't know if I trust him down there.
It's all
and that's also another thing that Michael does in the video to his son is try and show him how to jump a car, and he's just hooking the wires up wherever he wants on the engine.
What I love is Dwight is always he's the assistant to the regional manager is what Dwight is, and
he's in a lot of these.
As far as the opening segments go, I don't think we talked about this enough last episode, but they started about midway through season 2, and they became a staple of the show.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, you kicked off the show with the Bears beats Battlestar Galactica. That's classic.
Yes.
But Dwight is associated with so many. My favorite is so Jim's in Stamford at this point. He's just sending faxes on Dwight's fax paper that he took with him to Stamford, and he would send him messages from the future, giving him advice. And he lets them know that the coffee's been poisoned. And then they zoom to Stanley coming out with a cup of Joe, ready to take that sip. And Dwight just tackles him, right?
Yeah.
And Stanley, I don't even know. I'm surprised we haven't. Stanley gets hit and tossed to the ground a lot in this show, and I'm surprised he's never. We only see him retaliate during Beach Day when he puts on the sumo suit and almost annihilates Jim.
Yes.
Outside of that, yeah. I mean, he does get angry 2 seasons from now. Did I stutter?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Otherwise, kudos to Stanley. Love him.
Yeah, another Dwight moment that I like in the opening segments is where Jim runs the Pavlov dog experiment on him with the mints every time he restarts his computer.
Yes, the panting Pavlov.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
It brings in the dead goose. Like, there's...
What I like about that is later on in that episode, they're talking to the waitresses at Benihana, and Jim goes back to pranking Dwight, decides that he is going to prank Dwight after previously deciding that he was done with that stuff, and yells at him down the table and says that they're trying to explain how to gut a dead goose, but they don't know how. And so Dwight proceeds to scream across the Benihana as to how to do this, which, as we all know, is not appropriate restaurant behavior.
No. And I'm actually looking up to see if Benihana is located in Scranton, and I don't believe Benihana is located in Scranton, unfortunately.
Oh, interesting.
So,
and that's also...
And maybe it closed down.
Maybe. That's a possibility. There is... I think you mentioned in a previous episode that one of the waitresses was the girl from the Chili's, but it isn't.
I just remember that face kind of looking at Michael in a very specific way. Like when Michael's singing karaoke to her, I think he's singing John Mayer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just
Your
not the same girl.
Your body's a wonderland.
It's just not the same girl.
Did you know there's a soundtrack for all the songs that are played in The Office? So even in those karaoke scenes, like someone has compiled all those songs. Although they leave off the Run DMC Christmas song that I think was used in season 2, which I was upset about.
Yeah, that is rather disappointing.
You know who doesn't disappoint?
Who?
Our boy Creed.
No, he's my favorite character. He's my favorite character on the show. I always tell people this whenever I watch the show, that Creed is far and away my best character because he is the absolutely most ludicrous character on the show. He's completely insane. Like, we think the shit that Michael gets away with is off the chain. Creed is absolutely insane. He's completely insane.
It seems like he has his own segment each show. Like each episode, I feel like he has just one thing that he does or says. Every now and then he'll get like 2 things.
It's possible a man slipped in.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. He has a great line in like the second episode or third episode where they go to the convention and Michael gets his per diem.
$100 per diem.
Yes. And we start to see what a degenerate Creed is at this point. I feel like this is like one of the first moments where we see that he is just like a total scumbag on top of everything else.
Well, Angela's and Meredith are sitting there having a nice lunch, and Creed comes over and says, "I noticed you handing out some shekels. How does one get on that train?" And she's not having it. She storms off. And he immediately sits down and starts eating her food. But he's like, "Andrea's the office bitch." And then introduces himself to Meredith, which Meredith's another character, but that's for another time.
Right.
Yeah. Next season for sure. Meredith, we're talking about you.
Oh, definitely. And at one point he was sitting across from Meredith. He's still sitting across from Meredith, but his back's to her, I think, at this point.
Well, he complained that he wants to see the good-looking receptionist. He doesn't want to...
Yeah, he wants a desk by the receptionist. And I think it's in the first episode of season 4 that we find out how old he is. He's going on 82, but even for a man of his age, he still knows the union of the monkey.
I have never. I can't even take off a bra. So what do I know about the union of the monkey?
Yeah, you haven't gotten that far. You haven't gotten to the point where you can bust out the pamphlet or the book.
I use digital maps, so I was looking up Benihana's in Scranton. He needs to draw me a map, Mama. What is that from? When did he say that?
Meredith picks up tacos or whatever, or burritos or something for the party that they're throwing Oscar for his return.
Yes.
And Creed takes a bite of whatever Meredith purchased. And he immediately, like, the camera zooms in on him for whatever reason. And he's pissed. And he storms over to her. And he's like, "Where did you get these?" And she says the name of the store. And he's like, no. Like, where? What aisle? And she's like, I'm not sure. And he goes, "Draw me a map, Mama." Like, like a map of the store? Like, oh, Jesus.
I'm pretty sure that's not real. You're not real, man.
Yeah. Yeah, he has so many just great one-liners. He prefers his breasts all natural, baby. Swing low, sweet chariots.
That's right. Well, don't we all? Are you a fan of genetically modified breasts?
You know, if a woman has to have them done for whatever reason, you know, I understand that there's breast cancer is a thing.
Yeah, but, Angelina Jolie, right?
But
it's a mastectomy, sorry.
Jesus. Anyway, with that, we can move on to some of our favorite episodes, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely interested.
Yeah. Yeah, Creed's definitely got another moment that we'll come up to here in one of our favorite episodes, because I think he's kind of the highlight of that episode.
And honestly, I'd watched that episode multiple times and I never noticed it. And only because you and I are doing this research that I'm watching these things a little bit more intently. Mm-hmm. And with a 2020 lens and just like my thinking now versus how I watched this in 2007, absolutely, I'm seeing so much more.
Yeah.
So we're talking safety training, right? Like that's one of our favorite episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I like safety training is we get more. I love the warehouse workers, Craig T. Robinson and his crew, Lonnie and Midge.
Madge.
You
sure it's not Pudge? I thought your name was Pudge.
He can't even get their names right. He's down there causing havoc, which is why they're even having the safety training, because Michael has almost killed Daryl. And
he kicked the ladder out from under him and asked him how it was hanging.
And this isn't the first time. Michael did this in season 2. He completely destroyed the warehouse. And then you could even argue in season 1 with the basketball game, like the ball was flying all over the place. Like it was taken out.
Yeah, Mike himself with that basketball was a danger to the entire warehouse.
But for me, like Craig T. Robinson again, his direct approach, and I think for me, I think it's Lonnie. Michael keeps not understanding that he's not supposed to touch the equipment.
What the hell is wrong with this man?
He's willing to say what we're all thinking.
I love it so much.
People hate Michael for this reason. He lacks self-awareness and he's oblivious. And so
Baylor, I hardly know her.
And if I'm not mistaken, Andy is being shunned by Dwight in this episode, but comes back from his anger management and gets excited that Dwight is excited about the Baylor because it can crush a human body, which excites Dwight to no end.
Oh yeah, it's a very dangerous thing. And while Daryl is talking about how many people die every year in Baylor accidents, Jim and Kevin place a side bet on the over-under.
there's some gambling going on in the office. And this episode turns into a big gambling smorgasbord, which involves our friend Creed because they switch out his apple with a potato.
Yes, and he just takes a bite of it without a care in the world.
And I love Creed for that. Like, it doesn't matter. You can't distinguish it. Yeah. Go ahead, Creed. We love you.
I think this is episode he's also caught zipping up his fly after just peeing in the bushes outside.
So, well, he's near the bouncy castle. So he pops out. He's like, oh, look, there's a bouncy castle.
And why is there a bouncy castle?
Michael is trying to prove that he's got street credit with the warehouse workers.
And he wants to demonstrate how dangerous the office can be.
That's right. So originally he's going to jump on a trampoline, but the watermelon takes out Stanley's car instead, which is a hate crime.
Yeah, I know.
And
right?
he should call James P. Albini immediately.
Well, I hated it.
So he went for the bouncy castle instead and subsequently realizes his self-worth as he's up at the top.
Yes, and this is one of those human moments for Michael in this season.
Yes.
Where he reflects on what he has to live for. He asks it as part of his skit, but then it becomes a more honest moment where you do kind of stop and pause and ask yourself, what does Michael have to live for?
Dwight, you ignorant slut. You ignorant slut. Whatever. It's beautiful. No. And it's one of these things that I think we all, our culture as a whole is dealing with a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression.
Mm-hmm.
And they're taking this on in a funny way. But even though we're supposed to hate Michael, even though Michael annoys us to no end, his coworkers still appreciate what he brings, and they want him to live and they want him to continue. They actually think he's great, and he has his endearing moments. And I think there you see that the crew, especially Jim and Daryl and Pam, are all willing to step up and say, hey, Michael, don't do this. You're Braveheart.
Takes courage just to be you.
Now, something I noticed when he's up on the roof, there's mountains around.
Mm-hmm.
And my experience in Pennsylvania, I don't remember any mountains. So I did some internet research, and I discovered that the office is actually filmed in California, which makes sense, of course, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually filmed in Van Nuys, California, at the Chandler Valley Center Studios. And I have to put this on our pilgrimage list next time we hit the road.
Okay.
We got to go get a picture with this fucking place. And I've heard that the Always Sunny in Philadelphia bar is down the street or nearby, so we're gonna have to go there.
Oh, Patty's.
So, yeah, or at least the picture of right. So you think it's not Philadelphia actually, so and it's not Scranton, Pennsylvania apparently. Although some of those scenes, like where they're going to Poor Richards, I'm not sure about that Chili's, but that is actually Poor Richards. So
Gotcha.
We might have to add that to our list too.
Just a short drive all the way across Pennsylvania.
It is a big state. Hopefully you guys get your shit together. I mean, that is the northern Alabama part that you're talking about driving through.
Yeah, and that's where the mountains are. There are mountains in Pennsylvania.
Okay. I stand corrected. Thank you. A little geography. You're learning a little geography on the Catch This Guy podcast.
Well, the Appalachian Mountains do run right through Pennsylvania.
My favorite episode, if I were to tell anybody, hey, watch The Office. I've never watched The Office before. I was like, okay, well, just watch one episode. If you're going to watch one episode, watch The Convict, season 3. And if you like this episode, then you'll like The Office. And if not, it's over.
That's your barometer.
Because this is it. This is the one. You have the ridiculousness of Mike with race relations, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And then he does his famous Prison Mike skit, which is my ultimate Halloween costume because it's so easy. All you need is a purple bandana and a suit. Suits I have loads of. Purple bandanas, not easy to find in the store, by the way. Mostly red and blue, but purple is a hard color. And for Halloween this year, I'm going to go for Bob Ross, but if that's not working out, I'll find a purple bandana one way or the other.
Haven't you done Bob Ross before?
No, I failed this last Halloween, and my hair has been growing nicely. I have this nice COVID fro working its way, shaping its way.
Gotcha. So what is the Convict episode all about?
So as they merge the branches, the former manager of Stamford, Josh Porter, has been taking advantage of a program that offers reimbursement for hiring a convicted felon or just a convict, we'll just say. We don't know if it's a misdemeanor or a felony. But the character in this show, Martin Nash, they discovered that he is the person who was formerly a convict, but he's also black. And so...
Conveniently.
Yeah. Which sets up some great banter in the office. And when they're trying to figure out, what Martin may have done, Michael makes a note that in our society, a black man can be arrested for anything. He was probably at a sporting event and saw some people pushing each other and intervened.
Would he be arrested for that?
But I think he just wishes Josh would have made a more progressive choice. Maybe a white guy who went to prison for polluting a black guy's lake, something along those lines.
That happens all the time.
But Michael goes above and beyond to humiliate poor Martin, but to try to gain his trust and say that I trust Martin unequivocally. I actually trust black people even more than white people. Name me a white person that you trust, and I'll name you a black person I know even more.
Jesus.
And Jesus, and he throws out Apollo Creed. Stanley doesn't care for that. Classic eye roll from Stanley.
We're still upset about Apollo, if you haven't noticed.
With everything happening right now with Russia, I think people have forgotten about Apollo Creed and the legacy that he's left in our country.
Research your history, people.
People forgot that Apollo Creed was killed by Ivan Drago, a Russian boxer. And Apollo Creed is an American boxer. And so...
A black American boxer.
That's right. And he came out to the James Brown Living in America. I mean, it was beautiful dance and routine, and it's definitely it was one of the greatest openings to a boxing match I've ever seen. So
yes, we won't get into why Apollo may have had it coming, but it's part of our history, people.
Don't trust Russia. What are some other episodes you liked?
I think another episode that I liked would have been the Product Recall episode, because it highlights Creed's finest qualities. Maybe that's one way to put it.
Yeah, definitely.
Or his worst qualities. We find out
Creed's
in this
survival.
Yes, he's a survivalist for sure. He is in charge of quality assurance, which has dropped the ball on this one. We find out that 500 reams have gone out of paper that depict a cartoon duck fucking a mouse.
Could be Donald and Mickey. Seem to be consensual, though, to be fair.
Yeah,
and
Dwight seems to. Yeah, Dwight seems to think that this is consensual because they both seem to be enjoying themselves. And living on the farm, he's seen a lot of different animals fuck each other. Goat on chicken, chicken on goat.
Whoever drew this knew exactly what they were doing.
They got it right. So in this episode, Creed follows up with the paper mill and finds out which person was not there that week and pins it all on that person. He's supposed to go 4 hours every week down to the paper mill to do quality assurance. And the 1 year he doesn't do it, this happens. So he ends up getting some poor woman named Debbie Brown fired, proceeds to collect a sympathy card for her, and then takes all the money and throws the card in the trash. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ. So not only does he avoid getting fired, he gets a little bit of extra cash out of it too.
Well, Creed really did screw the pooch on this one, but he comes out ahead as always, whether he's taking toys from the toy drive or taking money out of the sympathy card.
Yeah, right. And a happy holiday to you.
I like Product Recall because they do this press conference, and Michael proceeds to talk about the headline. Local business Dunder Mifflin apologizes to loyal customer. Some businesses still know. It's an absurd headline that he presents. And from a public relations standpoint, like, he's making a huge mistake, but it doesn't matter. The Scranton Times shows up. Chad Lie, lighter side of light, something like that. Right?
Yeah. And obits.
He gets level 3 clearance, I think.
Don't get excited. That's out of like 20.
Not the New York Times, definitely not the Post or the Journal, but the Scranton Times. I got to see if the Scranton Times even exists. If so, we got to get a subscription to that. That's a newspaper worth having. But he brings in this customer, and she's upset still, and they proceed to argue. And Michael, she says she's going to call the Better Business Bureau. And he says, I'm going to call the 100 Ungrateful Biatch hotline.
And then he looks over at Chad and asks him if he got any of that. Every word. How about you? What's another one of your favorite episodes?
Business school, because Michael goes to college, and I love hearing him speak publicly and just screw up in public.
Yeah, when he actually gets to interact with the general public and not just his office.
Right. But he has this great gimmick where he's talking about business, and he's like, you need to sell a who's-em-a-what's-it or a whatchamacallit. And he produces the candy bar, whatchamacallit, and he tosses it into the crowd, right?
Yeah.
Next is a pay. Well, you need this, so you sell enough of these so you can get a payday.
Yeah.
And if you sell enough of those, you can make 100 grand. Satisfied? But he's tossing candy bars out. He's ripping up textbooks. And he's just sharing misinformation about 4 types of businesses, which include tourism, food service, railroads, sales, hospitals and manufacturing, and air travel, right? And so, but when he's getting questioned by the students who are like, how do you cannot compete with Office and Staples Max, he's like, David will always beat Goliath, but there are 5 Goliaths. And so Michael says, well, what do you just give up? Like, America is facing 5 Goliaths: Al-Qaeda, global warming, sex predators,
Jesus Christ,
mercury poisoning. He doesn't list a 5, but I just thought the sex predators was interesting because of this whole hashtag Save Our Children thing, the QAnon conspiracy.
Yeah, maybe this is another sign that Michael might be a genius.
He's a soothsayer.
My God. I wonder where he gets his lists, because he rattles off where he gets these lists. In the previous season, he had the 10 rules of business school, and he only named 4 of them.
Yes.
You know, where the fuck does he get this shit? Mercury poisoning. It's
when
like
he's
rabies.
going to business school, I'm pretty sure I see a Trump book in his possession.
Oh, he definitely, yeah, he has a couple.
So that's where he's getting all this bullshit.
Ah, that makes more sense now. I gotcha. Now it makes it's perfect. Michael Scott's character makes total sense now.
But the show was on NBC at the time, and so was The Apprentice.
Yes.
And so they were all working well to each other. So they were dropping product placement, so dropping Trump's name, and they do bring Trump in, and Trump has actually always been kind of synonymous as far as business is concerned, and whether it's Nelly rapping about him or whatever, it's always there.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that's business school for me. But for me, it ends on such a sweet note because he has a chunky in his pocket. But he goes to Pam's art show, and Pam has invited the entire office. Nobody shows up except Roy and Oscar, and then Michael comes along. But
it's another human moment for Michael.
A big human moment because people aren't into art. except with the exception of maybe Toby, because he's in the Finer Things clubs. But
Oscar as well.
Yes, and Oscar did go and insulted her art with his husband or boyfriend Gil.
Yeah,
who he's going to try to get out of that relationship. It's
yes.
the Stamford, and but that never happens. So, but regardless, he is so overwhelmingly proud of Pam and her efforts to chase her dreams as an artist, and he's even willing to buy some of the art, which he's willing to hang, which I think is just an endearing moment. And Pam sees that sincerity and instantly hugs him. And he has a Chunky in his pocket. And she said, and Chunky being the candy bar. I've actually never eaten a Chunky before, T.
Neither have
so I feel like it's like a Clark bar. Like Clark bars are like in Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
But obviously our mutual cousin, he always seems to like get me little stuff like that.
Yeah.
No different than you bringing the Yingling. Gotta love that.
We'll see what I can do about that on my next outing.
Sure.
So
you're kind of a subtle plug.
So moving forward, who do you nominate for best cameo this season?
So in the episode where Dwight goes and works at Staples,
yes,
it's Yvette Nicole Brown, and she was in Community, which is also an NBC show.
Right, that's what I was just about to ask.
Yeah, she was Shirley Bennett.
Okay.
And I like, again, that NBC Thursday night lineup back in 2006, 2007 was the Community, Parks and Recreation, The Office, 30 Rock, and it was just 4 great shows. Bang, 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 bang.
Mm-hmm.
So I love Shirley Bennett from Community, and so Yvette Nicole Brown to me gets my number. Plus, she's just freaking hilarious, and her interaction with Dwight basically insults her for not knowing who Dunder Mifflin is, and she's ready to.
Well, that's how it's going to be.
She doesn't like him. She doesn't like his beady eyes.
That's all she's got to say about that.
So that's my nominee. I love Yvette Nicole Brown, and just recently watched her in the new edition made-for-television series. Just because she was in it, it caught my eye, so I had to check that out. That was a well-worthy waste of time right there.
Ah, I gotcha.
Who's your nominee for best cameo?
For me, it's got to be Larry Whitmore, because this is a callback to the first season, and so, in my opinion, it's a great definition of the word cameo.
Right.
We just see him for just a moment in Stamford giving the same presentation that he gave in Scranton in season 1. And only seeing him for that few moments, if you pick up on it, just makes it all the funnier because...
You don't even really see him.
I think you just see him handing out the pamphlets. Yeah, but you mostly
you hear his voice.
Yes, yeah. And you know the presentation because you've seen it already. It's all about being a hero.
That's right.
And so for me, I feel like that callback to the first season, and as you said before, him being a producer on the show just makes it all the funnier. And I think that's the last time that we see him in the series, if I'm not mistaken, but we'll see. I'll be watching out for him moving forward.
We're going to keep our eye because we're going to keep rolling. We're going to do season 4. We're going to do season 5. We're going all the way with this.
Yeah, we're going the distance.
All right. What did we miss? What are some things that people probably didn't notice?
One of the things that I thought was super interesting, and this was the first time that I noticed it, was in the previous season, Michael talked about your friends using dentist appointments that aren't dentist appointments as an excuse for not hanging out with them. And in this season, that's exactly what Dwight does. He uses a dentist appointment excuse to go see Jan to try to take Michael's job, which is a whole episode in and of itself. And I thought it was interesting that Michael foreshadowed that in a previous season.
That was from The Coup, episode 3. Yeah, that's a fun one because Dwight knows everything about Jan.
Yeah,
as far as like what she shops for. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he knows where David Wallace lives, the CEO of the company.
Yes. Yes, and he sends him Christmas cards every year.
Yeah, but he knows that Jan likes Liz Claiborne. Many of your blouses are from there. And Jan's, either way.
She tells him that it's officially not part of his job to know that, but then she still goes to the store.
But he's just pouring pounds of syrup on waffles and just going to town, or pancakes. I forget, but God, it looked delicious.
Yeah. And he's looking at her the whole time. He's maintaining eye contact while he's tearing up his food. Which I love. I do love that scene.
Good old Dwight.
Yeah, Dwight
and
actually...
hell of a car. He's a car guy. I like Dwight's cars.
Mm-hmm. In his 1978 280Z that is also mentioned in the first season does make an appearance during the grief counseling episode.
Isn't that where he drives into the post outside of the Dunder Mifflin parking lot?
No. That's the injury.
Then I'm way off.
Yeah, sorry.
What vehicle is that?
That's his Trans Am.
Is it? Okay. I did not even notice that. I'm going to have to go back and watch that.
Yeah. It's cool. It's right outside when Roy is talking to Pam and Michael is inside supposedly doing the grief counseling, but he actually has them all waiting for Pam to come back.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of things I noticed were about Dwight actually in this season. Okay. Angela sings The Little Drummer Boy during the Christmas episode, which Dwight was singing in the pilot episode.
Okay.
And he also makes reference to Shroot weddings taking place in the grave. It makes funerals a romantic affair, but weddings are rather morbid.
I think we're going to see that at the very end, no?
More foreshadowing there.
Yeah.
And one might say that Dwight was foreshadowing the plague when he said that this world needs another plague at Phyllis's wedding.
Right.
So, yeah, too many people in this world.
I love that Phyllis wedding episode just because Michael's trying to get in on the photography and he's just trying to stick himself in the background.
He just wants to be in the wedding as much as possible.
And also, you can't forget about Scrantonicity playing that wedding. And I think if we can look into Scrantonicity and find out when they're touring, maybe get some tickets for that show.
Yeah. They were supposed to play Pam and Roy's wedding. And we find out that Phyllis and Bob Vance used basically every wedding planning idea that Pam and Roy had.
And we have Phyllis and Bob Vance get married. Like that's kind of a big thing.
Yeah.
Vance Refrigeration.
Yeah, she's no longer Phyllis Lappin. She's now Phyllis Vance.
She is attractive enough to have men show their penis to her.
So inappropriate.
Well, did the person even see Pam? I think that's the question to ask. Like, why would he show Phyllis and not Pam?
Jesus Christ. I'm glad that your head went there because my head was thinking about how Phyllis tries to use this to her advantage to get pretzels faster. And Stanley and Michael are not having it at all, and they force her to the back of the line, even though Bob's ahead of them in line.
No, not on Pretzel Day. Pretzel Day comes once a year.
What a pair of Marys.
But as far as like showing penis, I don't see what the big deal was. The guy was just hanging brain.
Yeah, that's another thing. We were led to. I feel like they insinuate heavily that it might have been Creed, and then the fact that he is like so upset that they continue to talk about it only lends itself to that theory.
What does he say? If that's illegal, lock me up.
Yeah, right.
But that's
More foreshadowing.
Hanging brain. What is that even? I love it.
Yeah, it is quite fantastic. But
and that's why we watch it. That's why we watch it.
Yeah, for the ridiculousness. And
I don't know. What else should we cover?
I don't know. Is there anything else that jumps out to you that we might have missed this season? I think we hit a lot of nails.
I can only talk about the fight during the negotiation episode. So Michael's trying to get a raise, but Roy comes into the office and tries to kill Jim. And Dwight comes to his defense and sprays him down with mace. And again, Dwight, the unsung hero of the office. Not only is he taking on bats, not only is he the reason why the plants are growing in the office and well maintained, but he's also taking down Roy in this episode. We didn't even talk about the bats.
That's right. Yes. So there's an episode where
it's business school. During the business school episode, when Michael's off at college, back at the office, Dwight's the glue. He discovers poop on the floor, and they discover a bat in the office, and then they proceed to try to take it out. Yeah, it's also another great Creed moment.
Yes, that's right. Animals don't feel pain.
Yes, animals don't feel pain. Creed, that's a living thing.
And they end up trapping the bat over Meredith's head with a bag. And we later find out that she was bit by the bat and exposed to rabies. But yes, Dwight is the office protector, and he does save Jim from Roy's assault. And Roy is subsequently fired, which he should be, obviously, for trying to assault a coworker in the office, no less.
Roy scares me. I would never want to marry someone like Roy. I feel like he would. He's the type to be a spousal abuser. So yeah, get rid of him. Fire him.
Yeah, Pam might have dodged a bullet on that one. But
you're welcome, Pam.
Right, yeah. Pam, and that's all a result of Pam telling Roy that she kissed Jim at casino night.
Which Jim was actually the aggressor.
Right, yeah. Which I always found that was a little bit weird. And I got it twisted in our first season episode. So I was wrong in that regard. I thought that she was honest, but no. And I never understood why she told him that. But Pam goes on to confess her feelings for Jim at beach day in this season. And I think fast forwarding to the end of the season, we realize that Jim still has feelings for Pam and decides to ask her out. That's a nice way to wrap up the season, right?
It is a great way, and it's all hanging on who's going to become vice president of sales and take over Jan's job. Michael thinks he has it made in the shade.
That's right. And we end up finding out that it's Ryan Howard.
Ryan Howard, the temp, to the salesman, to vice president of sales. He's a wonderkin. I don't even know what that means.
Well, I know what it means, but... But yeah, that's where season 4 picks up. And that is where we will pick up in a couple of weeks. We're going to be doing something different next week. We're going to take a break from The Office, get into some other stuff. But after that, we will continue this series. And I'm looking forward to it.
T, pleasure as always. Looking forward to you visiting soon. We got to talk about that offline. Yes, we do. That'll be coming up very soon. That's right.
As always, you can find us on Twitter at CTS Terry, or on Facebook, Instagram, or wherever you listen to podcasts by searching for the Catch the Sky podcast and subscribing. Hopefully you'll share us with your friends. And we look forward to talking to you in the future. Until then, keep trying to catch the sky.